Hello and welcome to the Global Dialogue. I'm Shereen Bhan, and today we put the spotlight on the global aviation industry and, of course, India's aviation market as well. I'm in conversation with the CEO of British Airways, Sean Doyle. Sean, thanks very much for joining us here on CNBC-TV18. And it's good to have you back here in India as CEO of BA.
It's fantastic, and listen, thanks for giving me the opportunity to come and talk to you. Yeah, it's been about 8 years since I was in India, but it's an honour to come back as CEO of British Airways because we have a very long history of serving the market here. BA has been around for 103 years, and for 99 of those 103, we've flown to India. So it's great to be out here because I'm here for the launch of a new call centre here in India, here in Delhi. Which is a significant investment that we're making in the marketplace as well.
Okay, I'll talk about the call centre in just a bit, but I want to talk about the India market specifically because IATA believes that this is one of the most vibrant markets. You've got a long history and association with India. You complete 100 years in this market. What can we expect now from BA in terms of adding capacity here in India? You're doing about, what, 56 flights weekly, but only 5 destinations.
Yes, I think we were very quick to rebuild. So I think after the pandemic, we were back up to our pre-pandemic levels very quickly. In fact, we've exceeded pre-pandemic levels now with some additional services. We put a third Mumbai service in September. I think we're always looking for opportunities, whether that's expanding on the existing markets we're in or looking at new routes. It's something that we're monitoring very closely because I think the opportunity and potential of the Indian market is incredible. You can see that domestically, but we also see it economically. Now, for British Airways, it's very exciting because we have a very big diaspora community in the UK.
That's right.
But we also connect, of course, that diaspora community with the United States and Canada through our hub here at Heathrow. So I think, we'd always like to have a leadership position as a European carrier, and I'd be very keen to learn more about how we could shape that in the coming years.
Speaking of your leadership position, let me ask you this in the context of the competitive landscape, which is changing and is expected to change significantly now with the Vistara Air India merger, which should go through by March of 2024. And of course, big plans by even low-cost carriers like Indigo, who are looking at going international. How do you see the market and how do you expect to respond to the competition?
Well, I think what we're seeing isn't a surprise to anybody. I think India has huge potential. I think both in terms of becoming an economic superpower, which we see happening in front of us, but also I think the importance of aviation in propelling, I think, that story. And I think an organic, homebred aviation industry has always been there, I think, for somebody to develop. And it's very exciting to see, as you say, Indigo and Air India, really sees that opportunity. So I think with the level of demand growth that we see in the marketplace, that doesn't come as a surprise.
The demand and fleet expansion, and everybody's now looking at ordering aircraft at this point in time, and hopefully some of the issues that we've seen as far as supply is concerned, which got exacerbated through the pandemic, will start to ease as well. You're facing trouble as well when we talk about fleet expansion and deliveries, but what's the outlook, what's the order book pipeline for you given the demand visibility that you currently have?
Yeah, well, I think everybody's been rebuilding after more or less a full shutdown of aviation, and I think from a British Airways perspective, we are resourcing up the airline, and we've had the biggest recruitment campaign in history over the last 12 months. But we now have all of the people we do need to kind of operate our programme. In terms of supply chain, yes, that continues to be challenging. I do think that will improve as we get into the months and years ahead. And I think you will see the big manufacturers begin to increase output and capacity. Hopefully they will get there, as quickly as they commit to. But the last 12 months have been frustrating, I think, for airlines and operators.
I would imagine so. But how do you sort of de-risk yourself in a market like this, where it is getting challenging to anticipate when you're actually going to get the deliveries that you factored in?
Well, I think we're part of International Airlines Group, and we're one of the biggest aviation groups in the world. So I think we have the benefit of that group kind of purchasing power, and we have options and we have delivery lines which have been firmed up over the last 5 years that we can draw upon. So I think we're relatively confident in the plans that we do have because they have been in place for quite a while, and we can use those to kind of fund fleet expansion and replacement. I think it's also very important from a sustainability perspective because one of the things British Airways has done over the course of the pandemic is retired older aircraft like our 747s, and we're taking delivery of aircraft like the A350-1000 and 787s, which are much more fuel efficient and much more carbon efficient. And of course, we're seeing those planes fly to India because we have the A350 flying to Mumbai at the minute, which is a fantastic experience and a fantastic product.
So in terms of fleet addition by 2023 end calendar year end, how many more aircraft are you anticipating bringing in?
Well, I think we'd expect to be back to our fleet counts and above it that we were in 2019 by about 2025. But a lot of the aircraft that we are seeing come in will be replacing aircraft that are retiring. So I think it'll be a combination of growth, but also a combination of making sure we're more efficient and more delivering on our carbon commitments. I think also what I would say is we have been restoring capacity both at a group level. IAG flew 95% of capacity in Q1. BA will fly about 92% of pre-pandemic capacity in this year.
You know, speaking about the quarter, I also wanted to get a sense from you on where demand currently stands. It's bounced back very well. In fact, the first quarter profit delivered by your parent company. You know, at this point in time, leisure is looking strong. You're back to about 65% as far as business travel is concerned. With China reopening as well, what's the expectation now in terms of demand? By when do you hope to get back to 2019 kind of levels?
Well, I think, you know, we're actually back in a number of markets ahead of 2019 levels. So I mentioned the United States being a key market to connect India with. We're now flying to 31 cities. So we've actually more destinations in the US we're serving than we did pre-pandemic. And I do think that what we are seeing is planes are very full. The mix of traffic is different. A lot of people visiting friends and relatives, a lot of people on leisure. And as you say, business travel is lagging. But I think the effect of those three channels is actually very positive for the industry as we sit here today.
You know, you talked about planes being full. What we're also seeing is prices surging and significantly higher in comparison to what we saw pre-pandemic. Do you believe that there's likely to be any sort of let up there as far as prices are concerned? I know you want competitive pricing, but you're also worried about costs at this point in time.
Well, I think, you know, we, like everybody else in the business environment, is suffering the effects of inflation, and our input costs obviously go up. Our fuel costs, you've got to remember, are higher as well compared to 2019. And, you know, the economics of running an airline means that you do have to recover some of those costs. I think at the same time, you know, the airline industry is very heavily competed, and I think that maintains competition. And we do see most of the places we fly to, there is an alternative carrier offering competitive fares. But I think we're part of the economic cycle where a lot of the input costs are going up, and I think to be economically viable, we do have to recover, you know, a proportion of those costs.
Are you starting to see any ease as far as supply side constraints are concerned, especially, you know, labor costs, I would imagine, have been a problem and a challenge. Any cost control measures that you know that we see you easing off on at this point in time?
Well, I think we're always looking for ways to be more efficient, and I think, you know, one of the big levers we have is more modern fleet, and that's helping us, you know, be a lot more efficient, because I mentioned oil is actually higher than it was in 2019. So having newer planes that consume less fuel is a very important competitive lever. We're also looking at digital and technology, and we're in the middle of a very significant investment program in our technical capability and our digital capability. And I think that will help us be a lot more efficient in the way we serve solutions up to customers. And I think, look, the industry is very heavily competed, so you're always going to have a very strong focus on unit cost control. And we're always looking at ways in which we can be more efficient, because ultimately, you know, that translates into competitive fares. Yeah,
I would imagine. And talking about digitization and, of course, linking that to the call center that's now operational here, which is why you're here in India. You know, in terms of being able to adopt AI, bring AI on board, etc., is that something that you are prioritizing at this point in time?
Yeah, well, look, if I look at what we're doing with our global footprint for contact centres, we have a very significant investment here in India. And we
What's the quantum of the investment?
Well, we've got about 1,400 highly skilled agents. It's our biggest site globally, and we have it in a new facility here in Delhi. But we're also investing in new capability. We have a new telephony system powered by BT, and we've also got much better workflow management systems to flow calls around the world. And then I think we will be looking at technologies such as AI to actually make sure that we can give customer solutions far more quickly, and actually in a way that's transformational.
You know, I know that this was an issue that you wanted to address, which was the waiting time for customers, and I would imagine that the call center is going to address that issue. How much do you hope that this is going to drive in terms of efficiency?
Well, I think it will drive a much better customer experience, and as I say, we've some great foundations going in. across all of our call centres globally. And I think, with the things that we are doing with technology, with policies, and also with the way we're digitising the experience so people don't necessarily have to call the call centre in the future, they can self-serve online. I think we will see a step change in the servicing experience for British Airways customers.
Speaking about change, what kind of innovation should we expect as far as the product itself is concerned from a customer's point of view? I know Club Suite has been the thing that you've been very excited about, but, in terms of the onboard experience, in terms of innovation on pricing, what are you thinking about at this point in time?
Well, I think if you look at the onboard experience, the Club Suite is, of course, very high profile. But the aircraft that are coming with the Club Suite are also coming with brand new in-flight entertainment systems. We've got more or less unlimited content that people can consume. We're also, I think, investing in much more bespoke experiences. Now, if you look at India, every base that we fly to, we have a local cabin crew base. And that means that we can customise the experience to the local market. We've also invested in a significant improvement in our catering capability in a partnership with Doe & Co at Heathrow. And we actually have the biggest, most modern catering facility in Europe now at Heathrow. We're beginning to see the benefits of a much more tailored catering experience to the markets that we fly to. And as I said, digitisation can really improve the airport experience. The opportunities to self-serve, to customise wayfinding, to give customers, I think, a lot more empowerment over their journey. I think we're tipping the iceberg, and we're investing in the technology to really empower that in the future.
Well, we'll take a quick break, but don't go anywhere. When we return, we continue our chat with the CEO of British Airways, Sean Doyle.